Hello, this is Steve. I'm the Independent Patriot. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you for coming back and listening. I hope you enjoy this. So I'm going to mix it up a little bit today. This is a new direction I'm taking. A friend of mine suggested that I should not use Bible verses as a proof of any point that I am making. And I understand that a lot of people don't believe in Christianity. They don't really believe in the precepts of the Bible. Totally understandable. So I'm talking to basically the entire United States here, and all the citizens of the United States, and especially in the book that I'm writing called America, a Culture War. So as part of discussing the current events here in the United States, I want to talk about distributive justice. This is something that the philosopher John Rawls wrote about. He was actually given an award by President Clinton back in Clinton's presidency, and he talked about liberalism and who should get the, in terms of reward, you should get the amount of reward that is commensurate with the work that you've done. So, but it also talks about distributive justice. The reward doesn't necessarily mean money alone. It could also mean the cost, or reward or cost has to be distributed evenly and fairly. Of course, fairly is a measure that's hard to define, but obviously it needs to be equal amongst people of the same stature, the same level of power, of influence, that sort of thing. So here, in this case, I'm talking about, of course, the House of Representatives and how they are treating members of the presidency, members of the past presidency, Obama's administration, and of course I'm talking about Joe Biden and his son. Joe Biden is getting one level, it seems, of justice, where President Trump is getting a different level of justice, it seems, from the House of Representatives, who has the sole right, the entire House of Representatives has the sole right to impeach. So you might ask, well, why wasn't Joe Biden censured in some way during the Obama administration for the pay-to-play schemes that were going on at that time? They must have been known about, you would think, and why he's not being censured now, whereas Trump is being constantly gone after. And this is exactly the reason. I'm going to state exactly the reason why there is anger and within the Republican voters, Republican ranks. Of course, I've voted Democrat and Republican in my past, so I call myself an independent. I'm really trying to explain the reasoning for the anger that is out there. It's distributive justice is how rewards and costs are distributed across the members of the group. Certain members are favored and consistently given premium rewards. Would be incorrect. That would be non-fair. It would be not equal. And so you have inequality. Sometimes it can be a negative inequality where you don't get as much reward, or you might get too much reward. That would be positive inequality. So in terms of positive inequality, when a member receives too much for their work, again, this comes from John Rawls, the philosopher, that would lead to conflict in the group. And this is straight from his writings that were from 1985, I believe, and he also wrote back in 1971. So this stuff came out like just before, I believe it was during the Reagan presidency, and then so Clinton must have given him some reward, an award later on. So what does it mean, though, positive inequality, when a member receives too much for their work? I would suggest that if someone is getting all the benefits of power, but yet they don't follow the proper precepts of that position, that power position, then they're getting reward without any checks and balances against that power. And that would be a positive inequality. Whereas, and now this is just me now kind of paraphrasing and trying to take this precept and apply it to this current situation. Whereas Trump is having a negative inequality where he is receiving a negative reward. In fact, very much a lot of slaps on the hand or whatever you might call it for things that has not been proven to be true at all, and in fact have proven to be false. And then a lot more issues coming out even now, which have shown to be incorrect. I'm talking about the whistleblower and the discussions with Ukraine. At first, Adam Schiff said that it had to be there that he was getting some sort of quid pro quo, and then weeks later he says there doesn't have to be a quid pro quo at all for there to be wrongdoing. So which is it, Adam? Is it has to be or it doesn't have to be? So his main point and his main reasoning for going after an impeachment proceeding was the very quid pro quo issue with Ukraine, which never happened. And this has been proven already with documents, with the actual transcripts that have come out. And you can understand why, as it said in John Rawls' text, that it can lead to conflict in a group if one member receives too much, for the same amount of work as another. And I would say that the vice president and the president, both from the executive branch, both have similar to very closely to similar responsibilities. And here we are trying to, Democrats are trying to elect Joe Biden as the new president. And I would suggest that you don't want someone like that in office if they are doing the things that have been reported that he and his son have done in China, in Ukraine. I hear something about Romania. I'd love to hear about that from Rudy Giuliani. So here's the inequality. Here's the reason for the anger. It comes straight from a philosopher that Bill Clinton himself. Sorry, Bill, I don't know you. You seem like a smart guy, and he gave him a reward. So that's kind of the situation we're in. I don't know what else to say except I'm not using the Bible here. I'm using philosophy that is recent, that is accepted by the Democratic Party vis-a-vis Bill Clinton himself when he was president, and it is directly pointing the finger at the Democrats for not being equal and not being fair in their treatment of the executive branch. This is Steve, the Independent Patriot. Have a nice night.